Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us. Today we're here to tell and show you more about Simon, the first AI-powered bot designed for IT operations in the Microsoft Cloud, which we surface in Microsoft Teams. So let's start by getting the introductions out of the way.
Hi, I'm Wes Prosbergen, CTO of Lumagate North America, and I'm the development lead for Simon.
And I'm Pete Zerger, the CEO of Lumagate North America, and I'm the product owner for Simon. So today, Wes and I will share the details of Simon's functionality with you, how Simon solves many of the most common pain points in IT operations today in the Microsoft Cloud, as well as onboarding and billing of Simon in your environment, both of which we think will come as a pleasant surprise. So IT pros working in IT ops today are really going through a transformation. They're seeing their roles evolve into managing hybrid enterprises where cloud services are now pervasive in almost every organization. The Lumagate team recognized this, and we asked ourselves, how can we help make this adjustment easier for IT pros, making them more productive today? And this led us to develop Simon, arming IT pros with a powerful set of capabilities for managing a broad range of Microsoft Cloud services much more efficiently than is possible today browsing in a UI. And when I say today, I actually mean today, without expensive tools, specialized scripting or coding skills, or months of planning automation sequences. So whether it's a service desk analyst resetting an Office 365 user's password, a server admin shutting down an Azure VM, or even a security analyst researching a potential security incident, we've crafted Simon with the functionality to reduce many tasks down from minutes to seconds just by telling Simon what you want to do. So Wes, why don't you tell us a bit about the architecture of Simon?
So Simon is built using Microsoft SaaS services, enabling us to tap into the scale and performance of the intelligent Microsoft Cloud. We run our SaaS service on Microsoft Azure, and we've architected it in such a way that we can actually deploy most of the components in the Azure tenants of our regulated customers. So effectively a PaaS model for those regulated customers. On the client side, we service through Microsoft Teams, enabling us to service just about any customer using Office 365.
Fantastic. And now we've got the basics out of the way. What do you say we take a look at Simon in action?
Let's do it.
All right. So I am going to transfer over to my Teams client here, where I'm looking at my instance of Simon. So I'll start with a pretty common service desk scenario. And thinking about that service desk scenario, let's just talk through that right quick. You know, one of the common elements I see in just about every service desk I visit is that constant pressure to close calls as quickly as possible. And we see cloud portals with ever-evolving services really being tough for those folks to keep pace with. You know, Wes, I feel like I see changes in the portal almost every month.
Yeah, and we see them in Office 365 too. So these traditional roles where we've managed on-prem infrastructure or specific infrastructure pieces tend to be a bit disruptive going to Office 365.
Yeah, for sure. So these folks know their job. There tends to be more work than time. You know, sometimes they know what they want to do. They're just not quite sure how. But the fact of the matter remains that fewer escalations means we save money. So we really wanted to find a way to beat that challenge. So let's start with just a simple password reset scenario. So with Simon, I could actually show failed access attempts for, I'll use Wes's demo user here. And you know, Wes tells me he's having trouble with this password. Simon's asking me to pick the right user, so I'll do that. And now I'm going to see Wes's failed access attempts. And what I'm really looking for here is before I reset his password, I want to make sure that an invalid password is actually the problem he's having. And I actually see here invalid username or password, so he's not wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the reset password button. And I'll reset his password right here in my Teams client. And Simon's asking me to give him a password, which I'll do. That's successful. I can now just follow the prompt to say yes, and you'll notice here if I've not authenticated to a particular API before, maybe Microsoft Azure for example, Simon's going to prompt me for authentication right in line here, and he's going to give me a nice second factor here to make sure that I am who I claim to be, that I'm a person sitting at the desk. So you see there, he's now reset Simon's password. Now, Wes, as I put my my prompt into the window here, I noticed that this context-sensitive help popped up. So tell us what's going on here.
Yeah, so here we actually leverage a great autocomplete feature provided by the Teams client. This feature allows us to suggest or start common queries for service desk agents.
Nice. Really think that's going to be a big help with usability. So why don't we switch gears here and look at device management. So it's great that I can work with users in Simon. I can also work with devices. So for example, I can ask Simon to show me something about Wes's devices, and I can ask for all of Wes's devices. I can ask for Windows, iOS, Android, or even his Mac devices. So I'm going to ask Simon to get specific for me here and just show me some info about Wes's Mac devices. I'll pick the right Wes, and Simon's going to go grab just the information I asked for. And you'll notice here that although Wes has a number of devices, including an iPhone, including some Windows machines, I'm only seeing his MacBook Pros here. And in line here, I have the capability to push out a policy sync or even manage this device in Intune. All right, so let's switch gears and talk about some of the other roles. So let's jump into cloud and server operations. So if I think about a traditional admin role in an enterprise, once upon a time there were server admins that just dealt specifically with my servers. There were folks who dealt with specifically enterprise applications, say Microsoft Exchange, for example. We'd have a dedicated Exchange admin, a dedicated SharePoint admin. And today we're dealing with more and more with operations teams where we expect those folks to be multi-talented. They're spread a bit thin. They're often dealing with services that are billed by the minute. So if I need to shut something down and I'm away from the office, I still need that capability. And Office 365 really brings all of those services once run by specialists to the cloud. So when it's as a service, we need more people to interact with those in some capacity. And at the end of the day, again, if we can reduce the task time, the complexity, and we can add a mobility factor, that's going to make a difference. So, and I think that's one thing we haven't mentioned about Simon yet. When we show you what Simon's capable of here in the desktop version of the Teams client, everything I'm doing here we can actually do in the mobile version of the Teams client. So you get that mobility very easily. It comes for free basically. So it enables us to complete a number of tasks on a phone that we normally wouldn't even attempt on a phone. So let's try something pretty common here. I want to look at the status of a virtual machine in my environment. So somebody tells me they need to stop DC03, for example. So I'm going to tell Simon to go grab the status of that for me. He's going to bring that back. You'll notice I have a stop and a deallocate button. I'm going to go ahead and deallocate so I'm not paying the bill anymore. And I'm going to hit that prompt that I'm sure I want to do that. And you'll notice there that I have the option to manage in Azure. You're going to see that repeatedly. Manage in Azure, manage in Intune. And what we're doing here is Simon is surfacing a single click that will take the server admin or the service desk admin or the security analyst to exactly the right screen in the Azure portal, in the Intune portal, in the Office 365 portal. And here I see, in fact, my virtual machine is in the process of deallocating. So I've confirmed it right there. Frankly, I could have asked Simon to just give me the status again. And even though that's in progress, I would get that status right back here in Simon's interface. So you notice the fact that it says manage in Azure, because it's deallocating, stopping and starting are not actually possible. And Wes, just confirm that for us. I noticed that Simon seems to be very context sensitive, that when a resource is stopped, I get a start button and vice versa.
Yeah, we try to surface buttons that are appropriate for the context of what the analyst is trying to do. So if VM is off, we'll surface the start button, and if the VM is started, we'll surface the deallocate buttons. Nice. And of course, as you noticed, we'll not surface any buttons if it's in a state where we can't actually perform operations.
Perfect. Another common scenario I think about, we see a problem pop up one day and somebody asks the question, what changed? One of the things I love about Simon is I can ask for changes in my directory. So for example, I can just ask Simon show directory changes, and I want to get specific here. Something, if something changed yesterday, show me changes that happened on April 11th, for example. So Simon's going to go out and he's going to grab for me just the changes that happened on the right day of the month. Now, these events, while useful, are going to be of limited value in my Teams client. You'll notice I can show more results, so Simon's perfectly willing to cycle through these events for me, but that's not really an ideal interface. So what Simon allows us to do, I'll just cancel on show more results, and you'll notice Simon's asking me if I'd like to export those results to OneDrive. So I'm going to hit yes here, and in one click, Simon's going to put those into a neatly structured folder out in my corporate OneDrive client, and when it's done, it's going to give me a button so I can open the resulting report in a single click. And what you're going to notice about this report, it comes right open in Excel, nicely formatted. So I go from 0 to nicely formatted data in a single click. That's really all it takes to make that sort of thing happen. And Simon's very tidy about how he's storing that data in your Teams client, so you'll find that the information is all easy to find in a Simon directory, organized by the type of data you decided to export. This is really, I think, great for another role that we should probably talk about, which are our security analysts. So thinking about those folks that are dealing with cybersecurity in our production environment. So let's just transition here right quick and talk about that. So when we think about security operations, I think what's unique about that role is event collection and event analysis can really be high effort. A lot of times they're dealing with large numbers of specific types of events, which can lead them to multiple areas of different portals in the cloud. And getting to that data and then getting it in a usable format can be a time suck. So time we save in collection means faster incident response. So it really has a dollars and cents, not only a dollars and cents value, but really some potential value in response to the potential breach in our environment. So there's nothing worse than being breached than not being agile and getting down to root cause. So let's take risk events, for example, risky logins. Maybe we have a user we think is in trouble. So I'm going to pull back risk events for Nick Romine. Simon's going to go out and grab any risky logon, so something that shows up as a medium or a high, and you notice here we've got a couple of anonymous IP events, so these are going to fall into the medium category. And you're going to notice here that Simon surfaces buttons immediately to reset the password or block this user entirely right here in the Teams client, so we can take action very quickly as a security analyst. Now I certainly don't want to kick large numbers of events, scroll through those here in the portal, so I'm going to say so I'm going to export these results to OneDrive. And again, with a single click, Simon's going to send these out to a subdirectory in my corporate OneDrive, sorted by data type, and give me a single click to open that report. And here I go from 0 to a neatly formatted report of exactly the events that I was looking for. So saving a lot of time and allowing us to drill down to what we're really looking for very quickly. Now, if I think about that Exchange admin role that I said in some environments doesn't even exist anymore since we're running in Office 365, I think about message traces with Office 365. So if I need to go out and find an email from one user to another, I find that Simon is really smart about those events. So Wes just confirmed for me here when I think about Simon and message tracing, I can certainly just ask, for example, show messages from myself here to that Wes demo user. But what about subject lines? So can I tell Simon to go find specific messages, for example?
Nothing specific for subject filter yet. That will be coming shortly, but we do have filters for time range. So you could say, show emails from Pete to Wes Krosbergen in the last 48 hours or in the last 24 hours or 4 hours. So if you're trying to figure out why someone is not receiving the emails that they're expecting, we can figure that out easily.
Okay, well, I'm going to hold you to that, so I'll ask Simon to go get messages from me to you in the last 24 hours, and look at that. There we go. So we'll just,
And I just want to call something out here. You'll see that we surface detailed trace buttons here as well. And this allows you to, with a single click, perform a detailed message trace to see where a particular message might be getting held up in the server flow or marked as spam or something else.
Fantastic. So we can use this not just as a historical search of an archive, but we can actually transition into troubleshooting from right here in Teams.
Correct.
Fantastic. I like it. All right. So that's a quick look at what Simon can do. So Wes, we saw a lot of access into various aspects of the Microsoft Cloud. Let's talk about Simon's security model for just a moment.
Yeah, so just about everything that Simon does operates under a delegated authentication model. So this means that all the actions that are being performed are being done under the context of the user sitting in the chair. You remember seeing Pete got prompted to authenticate in his web browser. So this means that in the native audit logs for Intune or Azure Active Directory or Azure, we can see that it was that particular user who performed a particular action, and in some cases we can even see that they perform that user performed that action through Simon.
Nice. So we maintain auditability, which I'm sure security analysts everywhere are going to love.
Yeah, the beauty of it is that it's all surfaced through the native auditing tools in Microsoft Cloud Services.
Nice. So really, Simon, as you can see, solves a number of problems, and fundamentally, if we think about this from a philosophical perspective, so to speak, we were really trying to solve that problem of the need for expensive automation platforms and coding skills and a lot of planning just to get to a point that we could automate tasks that we perform every day. So Simon really wipes a lot of those discussions out when we think about managing the Microsoft Cloud and automating some of that capability so we can save our companies money. And certainly when we think about role transition in a cloud-first world, that's where I think Simon stands alone versus some of those other automation tools that are going to require that heavy upfront investment and planning. And with the navigational aids, our goal here is really to alleviate some of that training pressure that we see, constantly with organizations that are just trying to keep up with the changes that are coming in the cloud. It's really the downside of rapid advances in technology these days. So at the end of it, Simon really relies on the understanding of situational context. We rely on that smart person in the chair who understands what it is they need to do, even if they don't know exactly how. So we reduce the effort of many tasks from minutes to seconds. We deliver a great mobile experience with the goal of just making folks more productive wherever they are. And at this point, I've talked about mobile a couple of times. Why don't we just step through what a real mobile experience looks like in Simon, and we'll show you a real mobile experience in Simon with a task that you'd never attempt on a phone in normal circumstances. So I'm going to show you here. We show risk events for Nick Romine. So I want to go pull a list of events out that's potentially very lengthy. So as a security analyst, no doubt I might want to see this when I'm away at lunch. But it's very doubtful that I'm actually going to try to do this on a phone. With Simon, it's not only possible that we can analyze large numbers of events, we can actually do it quite easily. So I'll show risk events for Nick. Simon's going to return that output back. You'll notice here I see that same anonymous IP message that I saw in a previous demo on the desktop. And that output is really optimized for mobile, and we can thank the Microsoft Teams product group for that. Simon didn't have to do any work there. That's native Teams capability. But here's where the magic comes into play. So Simon sees that we're scrolling through a large number of events, prompts and asks if we'd like to scroll through those on the screen, or in this case, export to OneDrive. So I have that one click button to export to OneDrive, one click to open it. If I've not authenticated to my OneDrive client from my phone, which for me, before Simon was actually pretty common, I didn't like to do a lot on my phone. Now I can, with that single click, authenticate, pull it up in a browser, and then switch over to Excel if I like. And when I tip my phone to the side for landscape, I get a nicely formatted report all in a few seconds. So not only faster, uh, but really taking something from impossible to possible, I think, in a really nice experience. So good work to you and the team for that, Wes. I love that feature. And if you're wondering what Simon's doing in your OneDrive, you have a nice Simon folder, a report subdirectory, and as you'll see here, the events are sorted. The reports are sorted by the type of data you're working with, so they're easy to find in retrospect should you need to go back in time for whatever reason. One of the things I really love about Simon is the onboarding experience. So Simon takes really only a couple of minutes to onboard if I try to hold my pen under my nose like that. It's really just a few seconds, a couple of clicks. And with that delegated authentication model, there's no elevated privileges. My privileges are what Simon can do, and Simon only does what I suggest. We're going to offer a 30-day free trial for all users. Now, what's important about that is no credit card is required. And as new teams within your organization would like to try Simon, you can invite them, even if you're paying for some of your users. You can invite new teams that would like to try Simon to simply snap Simon in, and they're automatically going to receive that 30-day free trial. They'll get a gentle reminder to get in touch with your administrator if they want to continue beyond that month. But we really wanted to make this process, I think, as friction-free as possible, if I'm saying that right. Is that about the whole of it, Wes?
Yeah, we want to make this easy. We think Simon will sell itself as people use it. I think they're going to want to keep using Simon, and that's what we're counting on.
And so that being said, let's talk about what we mean by low monthly subscription. So we're pricing Simon on a subscription basis per IT analyst. So the service desk admin that's using Simon, the security analyst that's using Simon. I think this is best if we just look at a couple of scenarios here to give you some nice context. So let's think about the education space. We have some large school districts out there, maybe with tens of thousands of staff, greater than 100,000 students in the district. You might think that because they have a large organization size that using Simon could be really expensive. And it's actually quite the opposite. Because we are simply licensing for the analyst, let's say they light up Simon for 5 service desk analysts, a couple of Office 365 admins, maybe a security analyst. We have 8 people there, times a subscription price of $20 a month, so that's about $160 per month. And for our education customers, we know you're dealing with challenges that are just far greater than the typical IT shop, so there's an automatic 15% discount for our education customers, so it would be about $136 a month for the entire team in that case. And then maybe let's think about the enterprise. So I know especially large enterprises grimace when they think about those subscription fees for services because typically they're sized based on the size of the organization. So if I take, for example, a 50,000 user company, they might imagine that a tool like this could be really expensive. But in this case, let's say we license Simon for 10 service desk admins, a couple of Office 365 admins, maybe a team of 5 security analysts. I have 17 people there. Times $20 a month, it's all of $340 a month. And Simon, again, is a SaaS service unless we deploy that PaaS version. So those latest features that come into Simon, the fixes and the updates all come automatically as part of that subscription. So quick and easy. And I think that was the goal. Wes, I know you and I both have a lot of experience in the education space, and we've both been on the other side of the table in the enterprise thinking about those expensive licensing propositions. I gather that this is probably something you're really proud of as well, that we're making this affordable for everyone.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be able to make it so affordable if it weren't for the ability to use these powerful intelligent services from Microsoft Cloud today. We just couldn't have done this 3 years ago, and now we have all these great services that we are able to tap into and deliver true efficiency for our customers.
Yeah, hats off to Microsoft for that for sure, and hats off to the Teams product group for what they've made possible for us in Simon for sure. So the public beta of Simon. So Wes, we'll have Simon in the Microsoft store in the next few days, you think?
Well, we're going to submit it in the next day or two, and then we'll just wait for it to get approved and show up for everyone else to use.
All right, so certainly if you've joined our webinar, you can watch for the announcement online and via email. So if you're watching online, you need simply go to lumagatena.com/Simon, where we'll make any and all announcements related to the public beta. And with that, we will look forward to seeing you using Simon and telling us all about it here in the next few days. So Wes, thank you again for your time. Thanks again for all your hard work and the team's hard work on a great product.
Yeah, my pleasure.